Hey guys, welcome again to History of Computing Technology. Once again, I am your host, Spencer Crume, and today we are going to be talking about alternate history. More specifically, what would happen if the Russians had landed a man on the moon before the United States? Now, it's no secret that the United States and the Soviet Union have been in competition with one another for quite some time. One area that was heavily contested between the two was the area of space exploration. This fierce competition bred what was to be known as the space race in the 1960s, and ultimately the landing of American astronauts on the surface of the moon. Now, the idea of setting foot on the moon was nothing new. The Germans, the Soviet Union, and the Americans all had thought about it, but it seemed like an impossible feat. While the US was focused on the exploration of space, the Soviets were more focused on the domination of space. They wanted to control the area of space much like a country would be in control of a conquered territory. Even with the early successes of Sputnik and being the first country to successfully place a human into orbit and bring them back safely to Earth, the Soviets ultimately lost the race to the moon. This was due in part to the technology that they used to control their spacecraft. The Soviets wanted to use an automated approach where the cosmonaut was not in control of the spacecraft, but computers of the time could not keep up with the ever-changing variables that spaceflight posed. This reliance on technology that was not developed fully enough would lead the Soviets' run for second place in the space race. The US, on the other hand, put the control of the more delicate flight tasks in the hands of the astronauts. This allowed for the US to successfully guide the Apollo spacecraft safely to the surface of the moon. However, since the US viewed this as a race and not a pursuit for domination, the interest to continue to send men to the moon faded and had all but stopped by the mid-1970s. Now I propose to you an alternate history, one where the Soviets successfully placed a man on the moon before the United States. Since the US viewed the exploration of space as a race, they did not stop once they were beaten to the moon. They continued on to create the first space station on the moon, where scientists could work and prepare for future space exploration. With the ability to launch spacecraft from the surface of the moon, the expense of energy to escape the Earth's atmosphere was eliminated, allowing for the US spacecraft to greatly reduce the time that it would take to make it to the surface of Mars by focusing all of the power and energy on the journey. Fast forward 25 years and we have successfully built a colony on Mars with indoor areas where climate control allows us to grow crops for food and breathe the oxygen produced by these same crops. We have also not rested on our accomplishments as we are in the process of building a launch site for the next phase of our exploration, deep space, and how to return.